Okay, thank you so much for joining me here. Today, I'm going to do a neurographic um, drawing, and I'm going to do that with my acrylic paint pens. Um, so, I'm going to do a small neurographic drawing today with my paint pens and maybe some markers and other pens. This is a completely intuitive piece of art, and that's why I like making this type of art, because it's very abstract, very freestyle. I am doing it in the method of neurological art. Neurological art, it does have, even though it's abstract art, it has a specific way that it is typically done. And if you've never heard of neurographic art, I encourage you to go check it out and see what it's all about. But it's really a therapeutic, intuitive art form designed to be done in a particular order so it can help you work through the problems that you may have. And typically, when you do neurographic art, you are supposed to think about a problem or issue or concern and focus on that as you work through the artwork. I do it a little different. Sometimes I do it that way, but usually for me, it's more just about allowing my creativity to flow. And personally, I found that in doing that, I really open my mind up to a lot of thought and a lot of different, I don't know, sort of messages come through to me when I do this. I get clarity about things and an understanding of things in a way that I'm not able to do otherwise. I've already prepared my paper here. I taped off the edges with just some simple, what is this? Like duct tape, masking, I don't know. Just some basic tape. And if you look, you can see there's a lot of lint and stuff. You're like, why is the tape so dirty? It's because I stick the tape on clothing or something like that, so it picks up all the little hairs and lint from my clothing, but I do that to keep it from sticking too well to the paper. So, little artist tip, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. And usually this is something I do in silence, but I've decided to start sharing these therapeutic moments with the world. So here we go. I'm starting with this really fat liner. So if you look into neurographic art, you really will see all types of art and patterns, colors. It's very personal to each person who does it, in the sense that it will only look like you can make it look. Although when you look at neurographic art, you will see a commonality, because it's, I guess, a style, more of an art form maybe. Every piece will be different because every individual is different. And this is really coming straight out of you. You can't make it look like something or not look like something. I mean, you can, but if you do it in the right way, it really comes out naturally. So that I'm finished with that part right there. Again, if you're interested in neurographic art or you want to know more about it, keep looking around and you will see all sorts of information about it. I stumbled upon this about less than a year ago, it was, and it just really, I was really drawn to it. It really spoke to me, I guess. And when I started doing it, I was like, yeah, I really like this. I really like this a lot. The greatest thing that neurographic art has done for me is sort of forced me to slow down and focus. As an artist, I learned about myself. Through doing my art, I learned that I sort of have this desire to get through it really quickly. I would look at other artists, other bodies of work, and I would say, like portraits, for instance, and I would say I could never do that because it's so detailed, and I don't know, all these other reasons why it just seemed like I couldn't do that. But as I got more into art and started to, I guess, know myself better within art, I realized I can do those things. It just isn't, I guess, my specialty, And when I started to pick that apart a lot more, I realized the reason why I was drawn to abstract art in general was because it didn't have a lot of rules, right? Or so I thought. I thought, you can just throw paint on the canvas any kind of way you feel like. There's no rules. Nobody can tell you what your abstract art is supposed to look like. I mean, that's true of all art, but there are some rules and sort of parameters that people have and put in place in terms of art. And I just felt like, I don't necessarily fit into all that. And I don't know that I want to conform to all these ideas about how I should be creating. And so I took a lot of time to, I guess, find myself in art and, what kind of artist am I? I'm very much a freestyle artist. I'm a free form sort of, abstract really is best for me. And I discovered this because of neurographic art and how what I was getting at, off on a tangent, what I was getting at is that what I learned about myself and why I needed this type of art is because it forced me to slow down in a way that it seemed like I didn't want to, I just wanted to hurry up and get it done. I wanted to hurry up and see the results of my work. I started with my art a few years ago in about 2019. And what I was doing was fluid art. And I started with fluid art because I thought that looks easy. That looks like anyone could do it. And so certainly I could. And I think I'll start right there because when I thought about painting a portrait, that just seemed so impossible to me. And so I started out with doing fluid art, which I still do. And I'll maybe share some of that here as well. But I started out doing fluid art because it seemed very easy and simple. And as I got into it, I discovered that it's not as easy as it looks. There are methods, and you can become quite skilled at doing fluid art. It's way more than just throwing paint on canvas. I think a lot of people see fluid art that way. You're just throwing paint on canvas. You're not really an artist. You're not really doing anything. But there is it's all art, and there is a skill set behind it. And the actual art making process when you're doing fluid art is pretty quick. It's pretty quick. You spend most of your time mixing your paints, deciding about your colors, and trying to get all of that together. And then once you have all that together and somewhat of a plan for how you think you want the end product to be, then you go on and dump the paint on the canvas, and that whole process doesn't really take that long. Doesn't have to. But when I started doing this neurographic art, first I watched a video about it. I stumbled across it somewhere. I wish I could remember now. And I said, let me look into this. What even is this? I was just intrigued by it. And I went on YouTube and I watched a video. It was an instruction video from an actual instructor. It was an art school video. And it was about an hour and a half. And I watched that video and a few others. And I said, okay, I'm going to try this because it's really speaking to me. It's calling my name. And when I first tried it, I did a really small one. It was about this big because I realized, this can be a very time-consuming art form, because it really requires you to sort of go slowly and go through these steps that are ultimately a process that sort of it impacts your brain and really forces you to think through and move through some things. And once I tried the first one, I was just kind of hooked. And I've done larger and larger ones. The biggest one I've done is 24 by 36. I did a 24 by 36 canvas in the Neurograph form. And that took me quite a while, but I just wanted to do it. And it was quite fulfilling. It always is. So, but then I started doing paper and pen neurographs, and I really like those. I really like the smaller versions over the larger ones because, like I said, they take some time. And that is part of my lesson in doing these, is slowing down, is taking time. Because I have a tendency to want to rush through this. I want instant gratification. I want things to happen quickly. And that's something that I see throughout my life. And this has really helped me take control of that and sort of learn how to take my time with things and accept that good things do take time sometimes. And I can't say I'm fully there yet, but it's helping me because these take time. And depending on the size, it takes as much time as you want. You could do a really small one. But they take some time, and you can't rush them. You have to go through it all. If you rush, it's not really doing what it's supposed to do. So This ASMR is another reason why I like to do this pen on paper. Now, I started with a really fat marker, and I'm working my way down. If you do this with a fine marker, if you do this just with a regular ink pen, your lines will be really fine, and this will be an even more tedious and time-consuming piece of art. For me, it's very meditative, very introspective, and I usually find myself in deep thought when I create like this. I find that it unlocks a part of my mind. And really makes me feel good in a way that other art has not done for me. Now I could continue to go over these lines in an effort. Oops, I keep getting a little off center. My lefty. I could keep going over these lines, trying to make it more perfect. And sometimes I do that, but I really do try to let this flow from me. I'm coming down to a smaller here. I have two of these smaller ones because they're kind of running out of ink. But so in a typical neurographic painting, you would draw some shapes or lines and then come in with some smaller shapes and lines, and then maybe add some color and some shading and things like that. I do things in that style, but my favorite is to just go black and white. Really simple with the color. That's my favorite way to go. And sometimes I color in these spaces or draw some lines in these spaces to add some interest, but my favorite way is to just go with black and white. So I think I'm gonna come in now with these erratic. Now another thing is I like negative space. I like empty spaces. In all of my art forms, I'm drawn to negative space. I like that. So I will have a tendency to have blank areas on my canvas. And sometimes I try to go against that, but a lot of times I don't. That's just how I get down. But this is really, it's getting busy now. Well, these lines are pretty erratic. But that's okay. Come in here. So in the traditional way of neurographic art, you're creating these lines and shapes, and the goal is to soften them all. You're supposed to think about your problem or whatever this issue is. It could be big or small. And you can resolve this, technically or theoretically. Well, you're putting this issue on the paper, you're putting it in your art, and you can resolve this issue in this way. Now, this may not work for everyone, it may not resonate with everyone, I should say, but it is a proven art form, and people actually study for a while to understand it and be able to teach it to others. But honestly, you can learn the basics of it in a short amount of time. It doesn't take that much time. But there are, I believe medical and various studies done to, I guess, to explain or prove the science behind this methodology and how it impacts your brain. And it's called neurological art because it, especially when it's done in the most traditional way, it really looks like a neural picture. It looks like a painting of nerves and neurons when you get done. Again, like, you go out and look, get on YouTube or Pinterest or anywhere and look up neurographic art, and you'll see how it looks like, how we would imagine the inside of your brain to look. It looks like a bunch of nerves and neurons and synapses and things like that. There's quite a bit of neurographic art out here, and it's very beautiful and interesting to look at, in my opinion. It's not like any other art. It's just it has its own sort of unique look and vibe. You can make neurographic art that looks like something. You can make a picture out of it. You can make it with intention to look like something specific or to take the form of something specific. I kind of prefer not to, I really like the freestyle version of it where you're not trying to make it look like anything. That is what I like about it, the abstractness. So I don't really try to make it look like things. Although there is I do have something in mind that I am going to be doing in the future. And that's kind of a reimagination of an old piece of art that I made. And I want to do that in a neurographic form. So that will be coming up. Again, it won't be very literal because I don't know. I don't think that's my specialty. Some people are really good at portraiture and, like still life, realism. Some people really excel at that. And when you look at a piece of art like that, you have to. A lot of times people look at art like that, and if you're not an artist, especially, and you just think, wow, but people put many hours of time into creating that type of art. Many, many hours. It's amazing. I don't feel that I have the focus for that. Not quite the skill either, even though skill can be acquired. It's the focus that I don't, that's where I struggle. And neurographic art requires that I focus. So it's great But because it's abstract, I don't have the pressure of like, with a portrait. Say I wanted to draw a likeness of a celebrity, right? It's going to take some time, but also with that is the sort of pressure or that underlying desire to make the likeness an actual likeness. You know what I'm saying? To make it actually look like what you're trying to make it look like. Some people are so very good at that, and I really respect that. Me, there have been times in my life when I was younger. I can remember when I was, in like junior high and high school in art class where I created likenesses. And, you know, they take time and focus and really a desire to want to do that because you have to practice. Like I said, you build that skill. You have to practice drawing eyes and things like that all the time so that you can get better at it and know how to do those things. Because a lot of art is muscle memory. Creating art, there's a lot of it that has to do with muscle memory. Some people, some people you see them create art and it's like, wow, you're so special, you're so talented. Like, how do you do that? It's like magic almost. But those people, honey, they are practicing. People who look like they can just draw anything and they're so special and talented, they are, but they also devote a lot of time to doing that, and that's what people don't see. People don't see how they're always doodling and drawing and doing something like that. So that when it's time for, a big important piece, it seems like they're doing something so magical. But the magic is in their desire and in the fact that they practice. Like they say, practice makes perfect. It doesn't make perfect because what is perfection? Totally unattainable. But practice makes you good. Practice makes you good at things. It's just that simple. Have you ever had a job that you're just really, really good at? I've had jobs that I was just really, really good at. And I was good at them. Not so much because I loved doing that particular thing so much, but it was because I had tons of practice. I was doing it every single day. I was doing it every single day. I was applying myself to it and I was learning how to do it well. And I'm going to tell the truth, a lot of times with work, I learned how to do things really well, not because it was so great, because I wanted to be an overachiever at work and, you know, do such a great job at work. It was because doing it well, knowing how to do it, made my life easier. It made my job easier. It made everything better. It's like, well, when you don't know what you're doing, what you do? You be fumbling and falling, child. Messing up, getting discouraged, wanting to quit because you suck at it. But the more you do it, the better you get. And it seems like that is the application with everything in life. But sometimes it's just really hard. It's really hard to do that, especially if you're doing something you don't like. I had a job. I worked there for a long time. Didn't really like it, but I was great at it. I was so good at this job. I was such a good employee, that I trained everybody. They had me training all kinds of people all the time, to the point that I started to hate training, even though it was actually something I liked. I started to hate it. Every time I saw a new person, I would just, ugh, because I knew they was going to bring that person over to me and they would never give me a break. And I used to say, well, can't anybody else do this? And they would, try to make me feel good by saying, well, you're the best. Those other people, they're just not as good as you. And we want these people to know what they're doing like you know what you're doing. They would say, teach this person how to do this job exactly like you. Teach them what you know so they can be just like you. That's what, literally what some of my management and leadership at the time would tell me. Teach them so they can do it just like you. But here's the thing. Nobody can do it just like you. I don't care what it is. You can teach a person to go through the motions. They're not going to do it just like you. In order for them to do it just like me, they have to be me. I can show them what I'm doing, and I can teach them even how to think about these situations so that they can do them like me, supposedly. But you can't actually make a person do that. Their brain is not working like yours. Their body isn't your body. So it's going to be different. They might not have the drive that you have, the will that you have, the flat out abilities that you have. Because there's only one you, honey. There's only one you. So, this is coming along. So, anytime when you're doing a neurographic painting or painting in this style, you can just carry on and on and on, adding to this piece, adding lines, adding shapes. But whatever you add, you have to integrate into the rest of the artwork. And that's what I'm doing as I go along and I soften these corners, because there should not be the thing that is pretty important in neurographic art is that there aren't to be any hard corners. Okay, so when you see a hard corner, I need a pointer. When you see a hard corner like this, right here, when you run into a corner, you have to soften that corner. And if you're using neurographic art to sort through your problems, to put your problems down on this paper, as you think about these issues or problems that you have, the softening of the corners is sort of softening that problem, is sort of breaking through that problem. You're not backed into a corner. You're not stuck in a corner when it's soft. What corner? There is no corner. It's just fluidity. And so that's what you think about when you're doing these. And so move around over here. That's how you work through a neurographic piece, by softening the corners, by slowing down, taking time, being careful, and softening these hard edges. like, you know, absolutes. There are none in this piece of art. Everything is fluid, everything is soft. There are no rules. It's your piece of art. It's an extension of you and your creativity and what is naturally flowing from you. You would never do this style of art while thinking about someone else's art or what someone else is doing or what someone else can do, because this is so wholly about you. If you come into this with a problem and you're thinking about how to work through this problem as you create this art, it could be a problem with someone else. It could be a problem that maybe you think is caused by someone else, or maybe it is, but as you're going through these motions of drawing and softening these lines, it's all about you, really. It's all about you and what's going to come from you. And how to fix these problems for you. Okay. Now, I could stop right here. I could keep going. I could start coloring it in. Like I said, I like to keep mine black and white. Yeah, I think it goes like this. I'm debating if I want to introduce even one more. I think I'm going to put some embellishments. I'm sorry if I block some of what I'm doing because I'm left-handed and I have a tendency to write like that. But, and I'm not necessarily accustomed to filming as I create and how you have to hold your pen. But, maybe I'll get better at that. Now, see, this bothers me a little bit. There's a too big of a space right there, but that's something that I have to let go. I like doing a lot of line work and doodling and drawing and things like that. And when I do things with lines, these sort of things stand out to me. They just are like, beep, 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 really obvious, blaring. But Is that important? It isn't. It really isn't. And that's why I create this style of art, to release the ideas of perfectionism, that things have to be perfect and look a certain way, and that this is a mistake instead of just a part of this artwork. It isn't a mistake. There are no mistakes. Um, and it really is best not to think about art in that way, for me. Now, some people probably went to art school. I didn't go to art school. I went to culinary art school. Um, but my study of art, visual art, has been totally self guided, just because this is something that I've decided, not even decided, this is something that I know has to be a part of my life. And so I'm lingering because I don't know where I want to go. I realized that art is a huge part of my life, and it always has been. But, I was a grown woman before I realized how important art was to me and how much it really is a part of who I am. So I didn't really nurture that part of myself or honestly pay any mind to it, because I was just out here trying to be an adult. I was just trying to grow up and live my life, not even having any honest, real direction about what was my life supposed to look like or where I wanted it to go. And I'm not like complaining about my life, but a lot of times I think, because I just really started like pouring myself into art like in 2019, and I think, what if I had did this a long time ago when I was younger? Because when I was in high school and elementary school and I mean middle school, I really loved my art classes. My favorite classes to take were the electives: art, photography, sculpture. I took all these art classes. I would look forward to them all day. I freaking loved them, okay? But it never dawned on me that I could spend my life being an artist, that I could be an artist. I was in art class with some people who were in high school, just phenomenal, amazing. And I would look at those people and be like, "Oh, I'm not an artist, cuz look at this guy over here." I remember we were doing in sculpture, and this kid sculpted, I can't remember who it was. It was some heavy metal rock band person. The sculpture was so realistic. It was so lifelike. I was just absolutely blown away. And he consistently made art like that. I don't even remember his name. But I really hope and pray that he grew up to be an artist and stayed with that, because he was so freaking good at art. And there were a lot of people like that in my class. And so I would look at them and compare myself to people like that and just be like, girl, sit down somewhere. But the funny thing is, I had this art teacher. Her name was Miss Hessman. She had a son in my grade. Anyway, um, Mrs. Hessman was my art teacher for, I don't know, a couple years or a couple classes. And she took a piece of my art and put it in the museum. I made a little sculpture and I called it My Cup Runneth Over. Someone took it from me, but that's another story. And Mrs. Hessman said, "I really love this piece, Bruni. Can I put it in the museum?" And I was like, "Are you serious, lady?" I couldn't believe it. I was really shocked to this day. But Um, in hindsight, I grew up and I realized that Mrs. Hessman could see that I had a certain talent, but I just wasn't really tapping into it because she would give us assignments and I would do them. And I can remember her multiple times saying, "This is good, but go further, do more." She was trying to get me to pull more out of myself, put more detail into these things because she could see that she never said it, but now this just dawned on me. This just came to me. She could see that I was rushing through these things, a thread, okay, for my life. She could see that I was trying to rush through these things. I was just trying to get them done fast, and I wasn't giving them the time and attention that I could have. And so she kept saying, do more, spend more time on this, make it more detailed, do this, that, and the other. She was a really nice lady. I hope she's doing well today. But that was her job. She was an art teacher, honey. She knew what she was doing. But I didn't know at that time when I was in school, I was in college prep classes. I had it in my head that I was going to college because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Did I have a plan for real? No. No, she did not. But I thought, well, I'm supposed to do these things, and so I'm gonna try to do them. And I did. But art has always been in my heart. And some people, I think, are designed or destined to be professional artists, and that's their calling. I'm not sure if that's my calling, but to create the art, yes, that is in me. That is for sure a part of who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And so whether I'm doing that professionally or just for fun, I'm not sure it matters to me as long as I'm doing it. I just have to be making something. So I think I'm content with this, but I wanna add some more elements. So I'm going to break out my gold pen. So this is really my favorite. I love, oh wait. Gotta make sure I got the right pen. I love gold. I love putting gold accents in my art. So I'm going to add some to this if and only if I can get this pen to flow. So crazy because I was just using it. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let me put it to the actual paper. So, I'm going to keep it subtle. Oh dear. Okay. My pen is leaking. Ooh. This can be a problem sometimes. Oh my goodness. This can be a problem with these type of pens sometimes. It's leaking. So, let me see. There it is. Just gonna come in. Ooh. Gonna come in on the ones I already did and just embellish. This pen is actually concerning me right now because it feels like it wants to give me problems, but I just love this. I love metallic gold. And I like to put it in a lot of my artwork. Metallic gold, metallic leaf. So this is a lot of what I've been doing lately. But I also, like I said, do fluid art. I do art with brushes. I do nails. I like to make press-on nails. And I like to put gold in everything I do. It's just, I just love it. It's my own preference. Maybe that's my, what do you call it? Signature. A lot of people use gold or metallic accents, but I just always feel compelled to add gold to everything, even though it doesn't go with everything. Well, yes, it does, but I think it does. So, just putting some metallics into this. And I'll be all done. Yes, lovely. That's that. I like the way this gold is catching the light just like I would want it to. Now I'm all finished. Can pull my tape off very carefully. The tape can really stick sometimes, but I've started to learn how to work with it so it does what I want it to do. It doesn't tear up my paper. That's why I try to put it on there when it's not too sticky. And oh, I did good with this one because it will tear this up if it's too sticky. Yay, there we go. Finished. So lots of negative space. I like making these with the border like this. Can definitely go edge to edge, but this is my style, I think. So now it's just a matter of I kind of want to you gotta know when to stop. Gotta know when to stop. I'm gonna go ahead and sign this. B. Michelle Art. I really feel compelled to draw some more lines on here. I'm just only right here. Okay, that's that. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe.